Hello, welcome along to episode 7 of the GRL podcast. Of course, this week we will be reviewing the Portuguese Grand Prix. Of course, Portugal around Portimao. I mean, the drivers were tackling this Autodromo Internacional do Algarve, but you know, it's the Algarve, it's Portimao, whatever you want to call it. And of course, it's only a recent addition to the F1 calendar. Only a couple of years ago it was added, and Lewis Hamilton's won both the races here. 33 laps was the task with the drivers, with also the 11 laps of the sprint. 4.653 kilometre circuit length, and 15 corners. And they are really difficult corners, realistically. I mean, there's a lot of places where you can very easily spin, lose the back end. Turn 4, turn 8, turn 14. I mean, there's quite a lot of places where there's multiple lines as well, but you've really got to be careful. But of course, this week, as all weeks, I'm joined alongside me by Atom. Atom, hello, how are you?
Hello, I'm good, thank you. And as every week, we'll start with the races from Sunday and go over the Monday ones later, and obviously the F2. So let's have a look on how it all unfolded this week.
Yeah, definitely. Before we get there, we'll just quickly take a quick look at the calendar. Of course, we've gone through the first 5 rounds now, and it was the first sprint race of the season. We've only got 1 week for Christmas, Spain, before the 2-week break, you can see there. And then we come back for Austria. But yeah, we're starting to get into the gritty middle parts. Well, we're not really in the middle parts, still in the first third, but we're getting there in this season, and I am looking forward to going over this race, because it was quite an interesting one. But yes, Atom, we always start off with the mixed here on a Sunday. So how did that one go?
Yeah, at Spa it was played, and it was played again after starting P19, I feel, in the sprint race. First sprint weekend we had out of 8, actually, considering I've won this week. And he also won the main race, and it was a Williams 1-2 with Udara in P2 after suffering some front wing damage mid-race. A newcomer grabbed his first podium, AMS Thomas, started on pole for the sprint, started on pole for the main race. Sadly couldn't convert that into a race win itself. Minaker, once again, solid P4 by him, so he's definitely picking up some other solid points. GRL Dan struggling a little bit in the main race after another solid sprint. He finishes P5. Kel P6 again, so also good points for Ferrari with his team at 10th, Cannon in P8. McMassey also newcomer in P7, and then rounding off the points, we've got Wargasm in the Alpine and TD Thomas in the Mercedes, with a couple good drivers not scoring points in the likes of Clever, Luke B, Andrew Exotic, Zora, and Jakob.
Yeah, and exactly, and I won't let people forget I am leading that championship, but that's not important. That's not the important thing, is it? It's all a bit of
nice
fun.
thing to have, and
Yeah.
maybe as important, because at the end of the season we'll obviously have a look at the combined driver standings.
Yes,
And
I've just
yeah.
basically funneled points to Williams, haven't I?
Yep, Williams basically now have 9 drivers, don't they? No, more, sorry.
15.
Definitely one more than everyone else right now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But Blades was also in the Williams for that race. So that's another, 40-odd points. Plus sprint. So, can't complain.
Yeah, Williams actually 3rd right now in the driver standings. So they're enjoying the life right now, but it all split it up a little bit now in the overall constructors right now, so everyone is now in place. But Alpine still leads the way, so they held their position there with McLaren, Williams, and the Mercedes engines behind. And we got Ferrari drop down, but then it really drops down to the midfield and Alfa Romeo and AlphaTauri at the back. So the F1 divisions certainly played their role in this, and I guess we'll talk about them very, very soon.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to the F1 main divisions, and we have got a very special guest for Division 1, so we'll go on to that now. So we'll start talking about Division 1, and I'm very pleased to say that joining me is B Ford. Hello, B Ford, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good. On this bright and sunny morning. Um, but
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, because Div 1 this season's been very interesting. You've been the most consistent. Asim sent me a stat yesterday, because he knew you wouldn't be here, which was that you are the only person in Division 1 to be in the top 6 in each race so far. So I mean, it's pretty good consistency. But are you pleased with how it's started?
Um. Well, it's about every race I've sort of aimed for a top five finish. So in that aspect, I've not done too bad. But no podiums or nowhere near a win yet. So it's not quite good enough. But I'm still hanging in there. So it's not too bad, I suppose. Consistency at least. So
Yeah, exactly.
sets
Because
me up
you
well
get
for the rest.
a nice stream of points every race, aren't you? So that's not that bad.
Exactly.
But I mean, I know you and Drazzy know each other well. I presume. I think you do,
Yep.
don't you? Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
he's also doing quite well, and you two have been always near the front. I think this is the first race that neither of you have been in the top four. So, but you still finished fifth, so it's still not that bad. Yeah, over the season, you said you haven't got a podium yet. But fourth, fifth, and sixth in all five of the races so far. What are you aiming for in this championship at the moment?
I aim to win it. Obviously, I'm only 18 points off the
Mhm.
top at the moment. So it's about with at least 3/4 of the season to go. Still aiming to win it, obviously, but we'll see. There's very quick drivers in this, so it'll be very difficult. I need to do well on my good tracks, so make the most of them.
Yeah,
Need to get a podium at least on the board soon. So
exactly. Well, I mean, you are only 5 points off Rain in second, and like you said, you hadn't had a podium yet, which shows how consistent you've been. But again, yeah, I mean, because it was a good result this week for I just talk randomly about Blade and Rain. Sora did very well as well. Michael Dale's up there again. I don't know how he does it. Gary the Goat in sixth, Gibson in seventh, Omitry in eighth, Lemons first race of the season in ninth, and then Atom picked up a point in 10th. But with the championship, we were talking about it. I'll just talk about it generally quickly. Sora leads now by 12. Rain is now just ahead of Drassi by 3. And then yourself is in fourth on 56, sorry. Then Michael in fifth. I don't know how Michael's got up there particularly, but he's managed to get himself up into fifth in the championship, and Blade's in sixth. But then with the constructors, I think that's wrong. Just looking at the constructors, I may have taken the wrong constructors actually, but I know you've got at least 56 points because you are in a Mercedes. Oh no, I'm wrong. No,
Why?
because you
I
took.
didn't do the start.
That's right.
Yep.
Right. No, this is correct then. So you're behind McLaren, but I mean your teammate. I forget who your teammate is actually. Oh, Kiwi. Kiwi has had such poor luck, such bad luck. It's unbelievable. I think he's been taken out twice at turn 1. He spun it himself, granted, this race. But he got hit around lap 2 in the sprint, I think. Like, it's just... I just want to give him a hug. But, I mean, you're currently carrying the team. Have you got any main hopes for Mercedes in the season?
Well, it's not looking good at the moment, is it? But it's a long season, so you never know. I mean, realistically, probably the front two are too far ahead. I mean, constructors is a lot, but the bigger gaps don't mean as much in the constructors because more points can be swung in each favour. But
Yeah.
I'd say top 3 is probably the only goal now because the top 2 have 2 very quick drivers in their team and very consistent drivers at that. So
Yeah,
it's probably
exactly.
difficult to catch them now. So I'd say top 3 is probably the maximum you can get in the constructors now.
I mean, because like you said, it's such a competitive grid. I mean, last year's champion, Ginger, I know he's missed a couple of races, but he's still only on 30 points. Blade was many of our picks for champion, and he's only on 46 in 6th. So, I mean, there's so much competition going on, and I'm really enjoying it. But, I mean, if we look at the calendar quickly... So, looking at the calendar, are there any tracks that you're looking forward to? Because we've got, of course, Spain coming up next week, and then after Christmas we've got Austria, Abu Dhabi, Hungary, and Miami, which I think, if some people like all 4, and some people don't like all 4, so what are you looking forward to?
Well, Spain's usually one of my best ones, so I'm hoping to
Well,
go
that's
well
good.
there. Yeah, hoping to go well there. Austria's, I think everyone's good. No one's bad at Austria. No one's really good at Austria.
Yeah, it's because so close, isn't it? Because it's not enough corners.
Exactly. So that's just if you do well, you're there. If you keep out of trouble, you're going to be up there. But if you do bad, you're going to be miles down. So that's just keeping it out of contact and out of penalties. Abu Dhabi, I've done one league race at, and it's good for racing. So hopefully that'll be a good one. And I'm not too bad there myself either.
I do like it. Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, especially the new layout. It's much better than it is in real life. That's a different point. Hungary again. Sometimes I'll be alright there, sometimes not. Again, it could be a bit of a snooze fest because there's not much overtaking.
Yeah,
exactly. And Miami I'm looking forward to because that is also one of my best ones. So I've got, out of the next 5, I've got 2 that I'm hoping to go quite well at. And the other 3 are just whatever happens.
And with how we end the season, because we've got, I mean, the last 4 are France, China, US, and Brazil, and I'm pretty pleased we managed to get, that's US's Cota, so I'm pretty pleased we managed to get Cota and Brazil as the final 2 races of the season. I don't really know, did we drew it? And I don't really know how we managed it, but we did get them. So I'm very much looking forward to them. But I think with Abu Dhabi, with that new layout, I will just very quickly touch on it. This is a random. This is nothing to do with GRL. But with the new layout, I think I would have preferred it if they the long left-hander would have been a 90 left that opened up. Because only because that would have meant that you could send up the inside there.
Very true, but I had a league race there, and because with Drazin, us two had a really good battle, and that corner's probably the best corner for the overtaking with us. Again, that's probably game related.
Yeah, that's true.
It doesn't translate to real life, but it actually is quite good for racing because there's a lot of different lines you can take. So
yeah, it is. And I mean, watching the F2s go through there, like on lap 1 of the real life F2 race was crazy. They were like 3 wide and just didn't know how they did it. But yeah, brilliant. Thank you very much for joining me.
It's okay.
Good luck for the season ahead. Have a happy Christmas.
You too.
And yeah, I hope you'll be on here relatively soon again.
Hopefully so. Hopefully the podium next time.
Yeah, definitely. So here we are for Division 2. Thanks again to B Forward for that. We very much appreciate people come on the podcast. But we've got, in Div 2, it was Panosh, who came out as the victor. Slapbus came home second, Distant Barn third. So those guys keep up their good starts to the season. Otto and Lloyd as well up there in P5. Lloyd's getting some form together. Draxter, he won in Mexico. He finds himself in 7th with Dan in 6th. And then Scarius, Chappers and Amalo finishing off the top 10. I mean, if we look at the championship in Division 2, Slapbus does steal lead, but Distant Bard jumps himself up there. Panosh really finds himself on his feet there as well. So it's a good week for them. It's also a good week for Ferrari and Alpine, really, because they start pulling away a little bit more, but Mercedes get some ground on Aston Martin, which is always important. But, I mean, midfield's close in both drivers and constructors. So this is really holding up.
Yeah. Slapbus still consistent as ever. I mean, his season has really been really well by him. And it's also good for his mentality, I think, because I don't think I've seen him really fight for the title yet in the championship, especially in this game. So it's good to see that a different face is up top in the championship. I mean, Distant Bad also a very consistent driver, so more consistent ones are already leading the championship. Otto, technically finished P2 in the race, but then got a penalty for hitting our championship leader. So he dropped off the podium. Yeah, Josh Gilly is still a bit of a question mark, isn't he? I mean, he's probably the quickest, but he still can't quite put it on the track. And then we've got that 5 drivers within 5 points behind. But really, one word on our race winner, Panosh. His defense over almost 40 laps was immense. Like every time he had someone behind him in the DRS, 5/10. That's loads of pressure to cope with. But he did really well, and it's good to see that Josh Gilly has someone to back him up in the constructors battle. And you never know, with another good race, Panish could find himself in the top 5 of the championship during the Christmas break. So I guess we'll have to have him on our spreadsheet as well for another championship challenge.
Yeah, definitely. And I am looking forward to how this shapes itself. I mean, Lloyd moved down, but I mean, it's a good haul of points. I mean, it's really close in there with Skaius, Panos, Delta, Jackster, and Lloyd all within 4 points of each other. And even the mid spots and the constructors. I know you've just mentioned it, but even still, and I do think Div 2 is one to really just keep an eye on for the rest of the season, because even though it's just below Div 1, you feel like the racing is, if anything, closer, because these guys are all pushing so hard to try and get to Div 1 for next season.
Yeah, I mean, in quali, I think we had I think 17 drivers participating, and the top 16 were within 8/10 of a second. So, and Scariest Bank, I think, was the last one who really messed up his qualifying, who couldn't set a competitive lap time. So, it's amazingly close. And as you said, one quick word on Lloyd. I mean, he's probably the underdog in our top 10 here. We didn't really expect him to be that good, especially if you compare him to last season's champion, Kleber. He really outperformed him so far. Another P5 for him, and he's still in the fight. Yeah, I think Slappers is probably a bit of a hard norm to set for everyone, because he has that 20-point gap. But from December downwards, it's really, really close. So good for Aston Martin, because as we said, Delta and Lloyd are a bit of a risky duo, but they seem to cope well so far. And they'll try to hang on to it. But as said, we had 5 race winners in 5 races in Division 2. And I hope we can continue this streak as we are on the hunt for the F1 season 2012.
Oh, definitely. I am, very much looking forward to that, especially after Christmas when it starts getting to the tracks at Austria. But yes, that's Div 2. We'll move on to Div 3 now. And it was Trappy who won again in Division 3. He's really trying to push for a promotion to Division 2, possibly over Christmas. But it was Smoking Cheese who came in second, and Luca B, or Buzask, who came in third. XRP was fourth, he did fifth. And then double points finishes for both McLaren and Alpine. But apart from that, there was no other double points finishes, so Haas couldn't really get maximum extension of points lead. And same, Alfa Romeo couldn't really capitalise, but, double points finishes for McLaren only puts them on 10 points, I should say, and same for Alpine. So it wasn't really that big of a deal for those two teams, so no team scored an obnoxiously larger amount of points. But it still has to be running away with it, realistically. I mean, Trappy's got 102 points, which is somewhat ridiculous, considering that his next closest rival's on 55. So at the moment, realistically, it's all about the battle for second. Luca, Jobbo, Nolan, Wiggy in that at the moment. But, Smoking Cheese puts himself up there as well. So, is there any possibility, if Trappy got moved up over Christmas, hypothetically, I think the battle for the battle would be absolutely insane, with Luca and Jobbo split by 1, and then Nolan and Wiggy only 7 and 9 points behind. So I do think this is going to be interesting over the season.
Yeah, I mean, Trappy is just on his game right now. He's got the hat trick of wins. He won at Mexico, he won at Spa, and he won at not Monza. It got me there. It was Portugal, but yeah, he's performing well also after P4 and P3 in the first 2 rounds, as we said last week. I mean, he's always said, especially last season when he also was in Division 3, don't put me up in Division 2. But he's really not helping himself, is he? He's performing so well, and it's just for a neutral spectator a bit of a shame to not see him battle in Division 2, probably, because that's probably where he belongs if he's on form. And he's just dominated this season, probably more than anyone else this season so far in any other division. As you said, behind it, it's very, very close between Luca, Jobbo, AJ Nolan, and some of the others. Also good to see to have Smoking Cheese on the podium in second for this week. We know that he's got some pace in him. He's just, I think, still struggling with this game a little bit with the 2022 cars. And also XRP in P4, he actually won the race on track, but a 10-second time penalty, which cost him the win here. So Trappy's still got some battles on track here, but I think overall he's just untouchable of the moment. If you consider the championship, and yeah, if you have another look on the team standings, I mean, Haas, as you said, still lead with AlphaTauri, surprisingly, with the driver Jobbo and Croaky, I think, in P2. So that's probably their division where they score most of the points. I think with 73 points, that's almost a third of the whole points in overall constructors. So they're just lacking the other divisions. Alpine in the midfield, and Ferrari and Williams are really down there in the constructors, which is probably downfall in their overall campaign. So I said, if Trappy gets moved up, we're on for an amazing championship here. So we'll see what happens with the Haas driver.
Yeah, definitely, and that's one story to follow as we go through the season. But yeah, that's Div 3 well and truly covered. We'll go on to Div 4 now, and it was SLR Ham and SLR Jam again. They're also two that are trying to push for promotion to Div 3 this time. They came 1-2 home again. Hops came in third, and those three are at the top of the championship. Lewis in fourth, Erna fifth, and Rex in sixth. Double points finish for Aston Martin and Alpine down there, but it was a good result for Ferrari, who got 23 points in the constructors' fight from just the Grand Prix. Yeah, Ham and Jam are really pushing forward. You can just see on the standings that they are. I mean, the top three are split by 1 point: Hops, Jam, and Ham. But realistically, I think Jam and Ham are really pushing to be promoted because they haven't been here for all 5 races. I think they've only been here for 3 of the 5, if I'm not wrongly mistaken there.
Yeah.
And are already on 70 points apiece. So the two SLR boys probably definitely looking for a promotion from Div 4. But you can see moves up from Andrew, the Div 4 champion from last season. He's now up into P9. And Erna as well. They had good results. But yeah, at the moment, Ferrari really pulling away with it. Williams being helped by SLR Jam and AlphaTauri helped by SLR Ham in those constructors' fights. But they're still not that far away from Alpine and McLaren. Mercedes really languishing at the bottom there, though. So it really is, exotic as well. I think he started the season off well, but he's there's not been enough from him last few races. I know he had some issues. But I don't know if he's just faded away as a title challenger. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, as you said, Jam and Ham, it's not really a secret, is it? That they are probably too fast for this division as of yet. I don't think it's massive because they still have a fight on their hands each race. But it's just that little bit because if you're just faster than other drivers, you don't have to push as much. You'll make less mistakes, and I think that's just playing in the hands right now. Plus, with the Summit Racing League and their esports team, they probably know how to cope with these situations. So that's definitely helping them. Still, Hops leads the championship. So I saw he probably upped his game a bit due to those two SLR guys really pushing for race wins. So I think, especially if you consider Hops, this helped him as a driver to improve because you really got to push until the maximum and maybe slightly over it at times. He was behind Rex after 1 or 2 rounds, his teammate, and now he really gapped him in the championship. So that's looking good. He's also a rookie. Hops, so he's probably putting him already in line for rookie of the season. So we'll have to see how this unfolds. I said Dobby and Exotic struggling recently, especially Exotic. He got 27 or 26 points in the first race of the season, and in the other 4 or 5 races he struggled due to internet issues, and I think also his mistakes. Probably he isn't just ready yet for championship fight in Division 4. I think pace-wise he belongs in there. Also Erna, who got a few points, but they just, from Exotic downwards, you can see the midfield fight unfolds, and you can also see Andrew, our Division 4 champion from last season. Obviously the grid a lot more competitive this season. He's back in the top 10, which is good to see. He struggled a little bit in the main race, but got the P4, I think, in the sprint race, which gave him 2 extra points. So that's good for the Aston Martin team. Not much more to say, really. except despite a bad weekend for Alpine, they got a double points finish, which is definitely good for them. Also double points for Aston Martin and Ferrari.
Yeah, definitely, and I think they'll really be pleased with how they finished. But yeah, I think we've covered Div 4. We'll move on to Div 5 now. And in Division 5, it was Ronnie Rosary who took the win for the McLaren team. And coming home in 4th was Lemon. So that was a triangular elimination. That's a very good result for the McLaren team. Maka came in P2, Heike in P3, and Y2K in P5. And there was a double points finish at the bottom end for Batsy and Mashallah in the Alfa Romeo team. Boosted RB in the Williams took home 7th. Mexican Bob 6th in the Ferrari, and Jay Screet took home the final points paying position. And if you reflect that onto the standings, Ronnie Rosary now has a massive lead at the top of the standings, 50 points ahead of Jay Screet. But look at how close it is. Jay Screet, Batsy, Maka, Lemon, Mexican Bob, Jacob, Asthma Frog, all within 11 points there. So it really is hotting up. McLaren have a massive lead in the Constructors' Championship, and I think Div 5 is really helping it get McLaren a lot of its points. But I think along with it, there's such a close battle. I mean, even with the Constructors for second, 60, 59, 58, 53, it really is, apart from the lead here, it really is all up in the air.
Yeah, definitely. It's very, very close, as you said. I personally am happy that Heike got P3 because that means we've got another Austrian podium set this season. But yeah, that's that. Y2K also was a solid result, but it's really, really close to midfield there. I mean, I say midfield, but it's technically from second to 12th, it's 20 points. So it's really mixed up here, and I think it's not because of a lack of consistency. I mean, it may play a role here, but it's just, I think, because nobody is really clearly quicker than anyone else. It's really, really close here. It depends on the form of the day of the drivers, and that makes it so interesting. And Ronnie Rosy, I mean, seems to be pushing for Division 4, as it seems, as he's more than doubled the points of the people behind him. And if you disclude him, let's do this for a second. It's between J Street, Batsy, Maka, Lemon mainly, and they're also, I think, all from different nations. So it's interesting to see that many different nations up top in a championship. But as you said, McLaren are walking it as of yet, and Ronnie definitely plays a part in it. And also Lemon picking up some really solid points for the team. So this is probably the division where McLaren gets many points from. And yeah, behind it's just carnage all the way. 18 points from P2 to P8 in the constructors, with just Mercedes and Aston Martin really struggling in this division, which you can reflect in the team, but also in the driver standings, where the best out of them is Heike, who just got his first podium for his team this season. Yeah, after the Christmas break, we only got Spain left, obviously. We'll have to see if Ronnie's still here, because then he's clearly the favourite here. That's not a big surprise, unless the cars behind can suddenly up the form massively. And I mean, if not, it's not a massive loss for the intensity in this division, because I think then we have one of the biggest championship fights in the history of GRL ahead of us.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. But yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that one as well. I feel like I'm repeating myself, but I really am. Next, Division 6, Azrael took home, I think, his second win on the bounce. Echo came home P2, and Tokyo P3. Matt Turner P4. Double points finish for Alfa Romeo up near the front. That's a good 18-point haul for them. And with Flying Luge in 7th, MC6 and Ace Guy, for the Ferrari, only getting 5 points, but I mean, that's still 5 more points, double points finish. And Tran for the Mercedes, who did win a couple of weeks ago for them. But I mean, looking at that championship, you've just got to say that it's close between Azrael and Echo, but I think especially Mercedes, I think they're starting to pull away at the front. Echo's keeping tabs, but I mean, again, then you've just got a melee in the midfield. We've got this in so many divisions, but you've got 41, 39, 38, 36, 36, 33. I mean, there's just cars everywhere, and I think a good result for one of them can catapult you right from the back end of the top 10 to the sharp end. And yeah, I think Div 6 is one of those divisions where you can get very unlucky in a race, but if you manage to keep your nose clean and basically get a good result, you can fly up the order.
Yeah, and we could already see this from the placements into the division before the draft night. But it was really difficult to all place those drivers in the division they belong in, because the drivers from especially Division 5, Div 6 right now, they're all so close, and we only had those 2 tracks available to us of Spain and Bahrain pretty much, and to place them only of 2 tracks, it's really difficult to know roundabout where everyone's pace is. I mean, Azrael and Neko will be happy where they are right now, because they're leading the championship quite solidly from P3. Tran, who won a race, but in the other races he was struggling, as it seems. So Azrael, I think for the championship fight, it would be good if he has a bit of a bad weekend at Spain, with Echo probably winning, because then it's even close up top. And then best of the rest is really game on right now, with Tran, Flying Luge, 2 race winners, Ali MUTD, who had a solid run this season. Ace Gay also won at Britain the first race, struggled after that one. Matt Turner and 10th Cannon, very solid in the Alpines. Also, I think no podium yet, except Matt Turner in the sprint of Portimao. So good for the Alpine team. And GW Panda, who apparently couldn't attend all the races because of some, I think, also internet issues. So Codemasters is really giving it all, as we see. But he also, I think, won a race, maybe Singapore, I'm not 100% sure, but I wouldn't count him out yet, even though he's already 62 points behind Azrael, because I know Panda for a couple of seasons in other leagues now, and I'm pretty sure he's one who should be up there with Echo and Azrael, but I guess we'll only find out after the Christmas break, because there's not much he can do at Spain only. Mercedes leading like McLaren in Div 5, we talked about earlier, just quite a dominant, not as dominant, because Haas only like the points behind, with then Alpine have quite a gap, and then, as I said, Melee downward here, AlphaTauri, Alfa Romeo, Ferrari, Williams, and then at the bottom, Aston Martin, Red Bull, and McLaren. So now here we've got McLaren at the bottom and Mercedes at the top, so pretty much just switched around, and yeah. Only thing left to say is Azrael and Echo is maybe the fight to focus on for the rest of the season.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. And then finally we go to Division 7, and it was Elixity who took home the win for this race in the McLaren. Jack JT came home only 2nd, and Kel came 3rd. Clips Cam 4th, Wargasm 5th, and MG 823 in 6th. Double points finish for Williams in 7th and 8th, and double points finish for Haas in 9th and 10th. So good results for them, and what that does for the championship is Jack JT still leads. Clipcam is now into 2nd, above Kieran, and Elixity jumps up into 4th in the championship. I mean, this one is more spaced out, you'd have to say, in terms of championship credentials. I think there's a lot of drivers on single-digit and early double-digit points, like pre-teen points. But you've got, you know, the battle for last in the constructors, Alpine, Williams, Alfa Romeo, Haas and AlphaTauri, or to not be last, because there's only 9 points between the bottom 5 teams, and Alpine's only on 23, but there's a lot of points being pumped into the top 2. But I think you've got to remember that there were only half points as well in this division for Mexican Grand Prix. Yeah, exactly. So it's just a very interesting championship, Div 7, because you feel like Jack JT is ahead, but like you have those drivers like Elixity, who, if they put a good run together, might be able to challenge him towards the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about a couple of days ago that Jack JT, Exility, and Kel are probably just a tad faster than everyone else in this division. I mean, Kel, for example, isn't really up top there where Jack JT is, because Exility only joined a couple of races ago. But I think Kel is one of those drivers who just got very, very unlucky over the season so far, because was always involved in incidents. Also, I think had some 3 collisions or so this week, but still managed to end up in the top 3 at the end, and could have even won the race if it wasn't for his 3-second time penalty. So I think he's finally really showing the pace he has, and pushing for that promotion into Division 6. Even though Klipskamp is now second in the championship, but I think that's mostly due to the consistency he had over the season. And yeah, I think it's just those little crashes that happen if someone's not 110% focused cost you some points in the end. You can already see this on the driver standings in the top 10. In P8, terrific gamer, for example, 17 points. That's compared to the other divisions, an all-time low. There'll be nowhere someone with 17 points in the top 10, because it's just way more competitive, and it depends on the details of it. And yeah, Jack JT has said dominant, but we had a really interesting race to Portugal with, as you said, Exility winning the Portuguese Grand Prix from Jack JT and Kel Clipped in 4th to jump up to 2nd in driver standings. And yeah, I think that's the point to leave it, as McLaren gets another win this week.
Now, onto the Formula 2, and of course, as every week, it rounds off the week's action on the Wednesday, and it was a very good week in Portugal. If we have a look at the sprint results, I mean, they won't come up on screen, but Gibson won the race from Blade, from myself, from Atom, from Distant Bard. I know that you got tagged around at turn 1, didn't you, Atom?
Yeah, almost took you out as well with fun. So.
Well, exactly, yeah. Well, I mean, the front row, I mean, Futile Rydog managed to come home P7, and Sparky, sadly for him, wasn't able to finish. He started 2nd, qualified 9th, so not a bad result for him to qualify 9th, but he wasn't able to finish. But of course, not many points on offer in the sprint race, but it was a good win for Gibson. And then if we go to the full race, it was Distant Bard who won that one from Blade. He went on the conventional strategy, the soft medium, and the rest of us went on the medium soft, and it turned out that soft medium did him wonders, really, because he managed to win ahead of Blade, yourself, myself, and Gibson. But us top 5 were away from the rest, realistically, in both of those races. But it's made the championship a lot closer, because if you look at the standings, Gibson 114, and then me and you, both of us, tied on 107. So it really is so close. I mean, Blade's catching up a bit. He's now on 71, and then it's System Bard on 41, and then the rest, really. That's basically, I mean, everyone else who's basically scored points. There's loads of them. But it realistically is Gibson, myself, yourself, and Blade if you can catch up for the title. But I'm so looking forward to the rest of this FT season.
Yeah, it's amazingly close. 7 points between the top 3, as you said, and Blade behind. I mean, it was very, very close in the feature race as well. I mean, it was nice to watch people racing, because I personally was struggling a bit with petrol or fuel, however you want to call it.
Fuel, yeah.
Hampered my feature race a bit, because I lost several tenths per lap due to lift and coast. But yeah, at the end, Distant Bard won deservedly with his strategy. Nobody thought it would be the quicker one, but apparently it was, because he just could get out of the very powerful DRS round here, which usually works quite well on the start-finish straight. Good win for MP, not Gibson, the winner this time. I think it's also his first race win of the season from Distant Bard. Yeah, and field was a bit closer this week compared to last, because Blade didn't have such an easy run compared to recent weeks, especially in the feature race, where I seemed to struggle for a bit of pace on the high field runs. So 5 people fighting for the victory, at least 4 for the podium, because Distant Bard was up there. But yeah, championship even closer. We closed it down by 1 point to Gibson. So very interesting. He'll lead for the Christmas break and after Spain, where it's going to be a hot night at Wednesday.
Yes, definitely, and I'm very much looking forward to it. F2 at Spain always delivers, and there's nothing that can go wrong there at all. Nudge, nudge, wink. But yeah, that's us pretty much complete for the GRL podcast around Portugal. We thank you very much for listening and watching along with all the graphics and the standings and everything that we put on the screen, and we really hope you have a good race this week in Spain. But between now and then, we hope you have a lovely weekend and see you very soon.